Okay, do we have only one mic or do we have two mics?
As far as you can tell, we got two.
Okay, good. Here we go.
All right, so this is from On the Road, something George and I just cooked up yesterday. It's when Jack and Neil leave San Francisco for Denver in one of these sort of drive-away car sharing services they used to have back in the 40s and 50s. And this is the start of that trip. Jack, Neil, Sal, Dean.
Hey, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Instead of reading Dean and Sal, let's read Jack and Neil.
Yeah, but it just in case. Yeah.
So if we say...
He's also known as...
If we say Dean, we mean...
Neil.
We mean Neil, and if we say Sal, we mean Jack.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we'll try to do it right.
On the road. The car belonged to a tall, thin guy who was on his way home to Kansas and wore dark glasses and drove with extreme care. There were these two other passengers, a couple, typically halfway tourists who wanted to stop and sleep everywhere. The first stop would have to be frickin' Sacramento, which wasn't even the faintest beginning of the trip to Denver. And Dean and I sat alone in the back seat and left it up to them and just talked.
Now, man, that alto guy last night had it. He held it once he found it. I've never seen a guy who could hold so long.
And I wanted to know what it meant.
Oh, well, now you're asking me improbables. Here's a guy, and everybody's there, right? Up to him to put down what's on everybody's mind. He starts the first chorus, then lines up his ideas. People, yeah, but get it. And then he rises to his fate and has to blow equal to it. All of a sudden, somewhere in the middle of the chorus, he gets it. Everybody looks up and knows. They listen. He picks it up and carries. Time stops. He's filling empty space with the substance of our lives, confessions of his belly-bottom strain, remembrance of ideas, rehashes of old blowing. He had to blow across bridges and come back and do it with such infinite feeling and soul exploratory for the tune of the moment. And everybody knows it's not the tune that counts, but it.
And Dean could go no further. He was sweating just telling about it. And then I began talking. I never talked so much in all my life. I told Dean that when I was a kid and rode in cars, I used to imagine I held a big scythe in my hand and cut down all the trees and posts and even sliced every hill that zoomed past the window.
Yes! I used to do it too, only different scythes. Tell you why. Driving across the West with the long stretches, my scythe had to be immeasurably longer. It had to curve over distant mountains, slicing off their tops, and reach another level to get at further mountains, and at the same time clip off every post along the road. Regular throbbing poles. For this reason, oh man, I have to tell you now, I have it. I have to tell you the time my father and I and a piss-poor bum from Latimer Street took a trip to Nebraska in the middle of the Depression to sell fly swatters. And now how we made them. We bought pieces of ordinary regular old screen and pieces of wire that we twisted double and little pieces of blue and red cloth to sew around the edges, and all of it for a matter of cents in a 5 and 10, and made thousands of fly swatters, and got the old bums jalopy and went clear around Nebraska to every farmhouse and sold them for a nickel apiece, mostly for charity. The nickels were given us, 2 bums and a boy, apple pies in the sky. And my old man in those days was always singing, hallelujah, I'm a bum again. And man, now listen to this. After 2 whole weeks of incredible hardship and bouncing around and hustling in the heat to sell those awful makeshift fly swatters, they started to argue about the division of the proceeds and had a big fight on the side of the road, and then made up and bought wine and began drinking wine and didn't stop for 5 days and 5 nights while I huddled and cried in the background. And when they were finished, every last cent was spent, and we were right back where we started from, Larimer Street. And my old man was arrested, and I had to plead the court to the judge to let him go. He was my pa, and I had no mother. Sal, I made great, mature speeches at the age of 8 in front of interested lawyers.
We were hot, we were going east, and we were excited. And let me tell you more. And only as a parenthesis within what you're saying, and to conclude my last thought, as a child lying back in my father's car in the back seat, I had a vision of myself on a white horse, riding alongside over every possible obstacle that presented itself. And this included dodging posts, hurling around houses, sometimes jumping over when I looked too late, and running over hills and across sudden squares with traffic that I had to dodge through incredibly.
Yes, yes, yes!
Breathed Dean ecstatically.
Only difference with me was I myself ran. I had no horse. You were an Eastern kid and dreamed of horses. Of course, we won't assume such things, as we both know they're only dross and literary ideas, but merely that I, and my perhaps wilder schizophrenia, actually ran on foot along the car at incredible speeds, sometimes 90, making it over every bush and fence and farmhouse, and sometimes taking quick dashes to the hills and back without losing a moment's ground.
We were telling these things and both sweating. We had completely forgotten the people up front, and who had begun to wonder what in the hell was going on in the back seat. And at one point the driver said, "For God's sakes, you're rocking the boat back there." And actually we were. The car was swaying as Dean and I both swayed to the rhythm of the it, of our final excited joy in talking and living to the blank tranced end of all innumerable riotous angelic particulars that had been lurking in our souls all our lives.
Oh man, man, man!
Yeah.
That's just a few moments of Neil and Jack.
Wow.
I'm going to read a short poem that was written a little over 9 years ago.